Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and today's video is quite a requested one. Many of you may have seen some of my GFX videos in the past, and I made a tutorial on how to make a GFX with Blender, but some of you don't like Blender or think it's just too difficult. So here's how to make a GFX with only Roblox Studio and Paint.net.
Pastel pink in the sunset. You know I never wanna make you upset. How did I become so obsessed with this?
Before we get into Roblox Studio and start that, you are going to have to install Paint.net. Do not go to the website paint.net because that will not send you to this page. Go to the website getpaint.net and then that should send you to this webpage. It would also be linked down below. Once you're on this page, you're going to go to paint.net, get it now, free download. Do not get it on the Windows Store. A lot of people have Windows computers, so they click that first. You'll see the price says paid. You have to pay for that because it's through the Microsoft Store. So just click download now as a .pdn and then you can install it from there. So for this tutorial, you are going to need a load character plugin. I will link the one I used down in the description below just to prevent you from downloading ones that may not be the right thing. Of course, if you're going to make a GFX, you need a character to make the GFX of. For this video, I'm just going to do a GFX of my current character. It's in a cute Halloween outfit that I like, so why not? Now when you open Roblox Studio, it may not look exactly like mine. You may not have these grid lines or this axis in the middle. Don't worry about that. You don't really need that for this video, but I just have that because I prefer it there, so just kind of ignore it. Now that you're in Roblox Studio, what you're going to want to do is go to your plugins, and you should see the load character plugin that you just installed. If you did not install it or do not know how to install plugins, there are many YouTube videos that will help you out. I will go ahead and find one and link it down below if you guys need it. So now that you're in Studio, you're going to want to go to your plugins and then go to your load character plugin. Once opened, you're going to want to type the name of the Roblox character you want to use. For this video, I'm just going to use my character Foods. This spawn at origin button, I recommend clicking it just so it's not selected, because if you do have spawn at origin selected, and for instance, let's say I'm all the way on that part of the map, the character is going to spawn right here. That's basically what the spawn at origin means, but if you turn it off and then click spawn your character, it should spawn exactly where you are. Usually when I import the characters, I like to just rotate them around a bit, just so that they're not directly, facing away from the sun. So I'm just gonna go ahead and rotate that. Also, if you do not know how to have these little lines when you rotate, all you need to do is go to model, and then you will see where it says rotate and move. And basically that determines how big of a step you wanna move something and how high of a degree you wanna rotate something, which is very, very useful. So for instance, right now my rotate is at 5 degrees, and that's why I have these little lines, but if I go ahead and put it all the way to 20, the lines get a lot bigger. And then of course, if I turn it all the way off, there is no lines at all. Now that you have the character you want and the position you want, what you're going to want to do is you're going to go to lighting and then go to properties of lighting, and you want to make sure you have global shadows on. When you turn them on, it gives it a bit more shading. If you don't want them on, you don't have to have them on, but for this video, I'm just going to have them on because I think it looks a little bit better. In addition to having global shadows on, I'm also going to mess with the outdoor ambient a bit because I just prefer the GFX to have a more lighter tone than being so dark. There you go, I think that looks nice. Now when making the GFX, you don't have to bend your character's arms or have them hold anything if you don't want to, but for this video I'm just going to go ahead and bend the arms and just give the character a little pumpkin to hold. Now if you are going to bend the arms, you're going to want to make sure that when you spawn the character in, you click spawn in R15. If you spawn R6, you will not be able to bend the arms. You can move them, but you can't bend them like you can with R15. To start with bending the arm, on your keyboard, hold down Alt, and then click the top of the arm. When you hold down Alt, that allows you to click an item that's in the model without selecting the entire model itself. If you go to the Explorer, you can see exactly which part of the character you're selecting. Another way of doing this is also going to Explorer, going to your character, and then just scrolling down till you see the body part you want to click. So I'm going to go ahead and go for the left upper arm, and ta-da. Since I'm going to be bending the arms, an easier way to do this is to select each part of the arm, which means the left upper arm, left lower arm, and then the left hand. Now once they are selected, you're going to rotate them just as much as you want the top of the arm to be bent and move them accordingly. And now you're going to unselect the upper arm and only have the left lower arm and the left hand selected. The way I'm doing this is I am holding down Control on my keyboard and clicking on each of them. If you hold Control, you can select multiple items at the same time. Now with the left hand and left lower arm selected, I'm going to go ahead and rotate those. There we go. I'm going to rotate them just a bit more. There we go. And now since we are in R15, we are going to have those little gaps which aren't very pretty, but that is the cost that comes with not using Blender. Now the arm bend looks pretty good, but I think I'm just going to go ahead and bend the hand just a little bit. There you go. I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing for the other arm. I actually completely forgot about adding the pumpkin. Whoops. And now for the pumpkin, I'm just going to go into the toolbox, the models, and then just type in pumpkin. I'm actually going to go ahead and just steal the pumpkin from this dude. Bye. What? Okay, so I believe that's how I'm going to end up leaving my character. So now once you have the character set up, what you're going to want to do is go into your toolbox and search green screen under models. Your results should be something like this, and you should see just a green square. If you do, click that, and it should hopefully make the whole sky green. Now that you have the whole sky green, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to delete the base plate, because you're not going to need this in the end. It doesn't do anything, and you don't want to see it in the end GFX either. For me, I have this little grid and axis I might have to move, so let me go ahead and deal with that. There we go, now the grid isn't showing. If you are wearing an outfit that has green in it, this might not work well because you rely on the contrast of the colors to be able to take away the background in the end. So I recommend for this GFX, if you are using green as a background, don't wear anything that has green in it. Wear something that contrasts it, such as, I don't know, red, maybe like a dark blue, orange like I'm wearing, something like that. Just not something that will be able to merge into it, or else you'll have difficulty separating them in the end. As you can see, my character says the name on the top. I do not want that. I'm just going to go ahead and click my character, go to properties, and where it says name, I'm just going to leave it blank. So now that's gone. Next, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to take a screenshot of your screen and basically just an image of the character. If you're on a Windows computer, you may have a program already installed called Snipping Tool, which is what I'm going to be using here. And I'm just going to go just around the character. I don't really need anything else. And there you go, now I have a picture of my character. So now that you have a picture of your character, the next thing is to open it into Paint.net. You can either save it and then open it into Paint.net or just copy it and paste it, which is what I'm going to be doing today. Let me go ahead and just click new just so the canvas size changes. Ta-da! Now what you're going to want to do is, we obviously do not need this green in the background. That's not the background I want for this GFX. So you're going to go into your toolbox, click the magic wand tool, and then just select the green. If it is selecting part of your outfit, then you may have to go to the top, to the tolerance bar, and then just mess with that a little bit. The lower it is, the less it's going to select, so the less green it will select, and the higher it is, the more it will select, so the more green it will select, aka the more it will select of your outfit. Now that you have the outer selected, all you need to do is go to your keyboard and press delete. If you do not have a delete key, you can also go and press erase, make your eraser width a lot bigger, and then just erase from there. As you can see, I still have some green little specks around, so I'm just going to go back in with the magic wand tool, and then just select each of those, and then just delete them as I go. Actually, a faster way of doing this, my bad, is to just press shift and then press on the green, and it should select all the other green little dots. But of course you delete, just go ahead and make sure it's not selecting any part of your character, or else you will end up deleting that too. There we go. Before I start adding effects onto the character, I'm gonna go and find the background. Since this is an orange Halloween GFX, I'm probably gonna go along with an orange background as well. So after a while I finally found the background I want to use, and to add your background what you're going to have to do is you should start out with only one layer, this background layer. You're going to then add a new layer and then just put that layer right underneath. I already had an under layer, so I'm just going to go ahead and delete the one I did, but as long as you have one layer underneath, that's what you need. Now once you're on the layer underneath your character, you're going to want to press Ctrl V to paste the image you want as your background. If you go to paste it and you get this message asking you to expand canvas or keep canvas size, always click keep canvas size. If you click expand canvas, it makes the whole thing a lot bigger, and then you just have to resize the entire canvas, and it's a real pain in the butt. So for this purpose, just press keep canvas size. Now what you're going to want to do is if you zoom out, you will see that this is giant and we do not need it this big. So you're just going to go ahead to one of the corners and just make it smaller and just make it as big as you need it to be. There we go. And now I don't want my entire character in this, like her feet and everything, so I'm going to go back to the layer that has my character, and then I'm just going to go ahead and just make the layer a bit bigger. I also do want to change the color of the background a bit, so to do that I'm going to select the background, I'm going to go to Adjustments, Hue/Saturation, and then just edit it a bit. There we go, no major changes. That's also not necessary, it's just something I prefer to do. Now, it is looking great so far, but the only issue is the character looks a bit off when it comes to the background. It looks like there's not as much shading or anything, it looks like they're just kind of there. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the layer that has our character. You're going to want to click this button which duplicates the layer, go to the bottom layer, go to Adjustments, Hue/Saturation, and bring the lightness all the way down. Now if you see at the right, you should have one colored layer and then one layer that is just black. There you go, now just click OK. Now with both of the layers there, you're going to want to make sure you still have the black layer selected, and then go to Effects, Blurs, and Gaussian Blur. Now as you can see, the blur starts to add a shadow to your character. You could go ahead and mess around with the radius and decide which one you like. For this GFX, I'm just going to go ahead with this one, radius 11, I think that looks pretty nice. And also, if you want the shading to be darker, you can go to the black layer and duplicate it. If you duplicate it, it's the same amount of shading, just a bit more darker. If you want to make it lighter instead, double click the black layer, and now you will see the layer properties. You will see the opacity property, and you basically just want to bring that as low as you want it. If you bring it to 0, you will see that your character now has no shadow. But if you bring it up, you will see the shadow start to come back again. I'm just going to leave my shadow all the way up because I like that the way it is, and I actually think I might make my shadow a bit darker by duplicating the layer. There we go. So now I have two black layers, but I don't need two of them, so I'm just going to go to the one that's above and then just click merge layer down. So now I just merged both of the black layers into one. If you wanted to, just to give your character a bit more shading, you can open your color wheel, go to your paintbrush tool, and make sure you have the color black selected, and then at the top of your screen where it said brush width, make that a little bit smaller. How about 95? There you go, that's good. And make sure the hardness is all the way to 0. Also, when you are doing this, make sure you're on a completely new layer that is above everything else, especially your character. Now on the new layer, you can go ahead and then just start doing some shading just around the sides a bit. And for certain parts, you're going to have to make the brush a bit smaller, such as right there and right near my antlers. I know this looks like a giant mess, but what you're going to want to do is go to the layer right below where just your character is, and making sure you have that layer selected, click anywhere. I'm just going to click the top corner for example, and it should select just your character. Once you have everything other than your character selected, you're going to want to go back again to the top layer that we just made, and then press delete. Now, it still looks pretty... Now, don't get me wrong, still looks pretty bad. Bear with me, this is also my first time doing this. What you're gonna do is you're gonna wanna go to the top layer, double click it, and then just make the opacity a bit lighter. Just to where you want it. I think that looks good. And then again, the shading came out a bit of a mess, so I'm gonna go back in with my eraser and just clean it up a little bit. So now that I went in with my eraser, it looks a lot better than it did before. It might not look perfect, but this is what it would look like without the shading, and this is what it looks like with the shading. In my opinion, I think the shading just makes it look a little bit nicer, but again, it's not, it's not mandatory. If you don't want to add it, don't add it. This all is completely up to you. At the end of the day, all that matters is that you like it. There you go, I actually erased it just a little bit more just to make it look a little bit cleaner, and I actually like how it turned out a lot. For my outer glow, I actually do want it to be a bit darker, so I'm going to go ahead and just duplicate it again, and then, again, just merge the layer down. Now that I have the character the way I want it, I don't think I'm going to be adding any more edits to the character itself, so at this point I can go ahead and go to the top layer of the character, which is just the shading. Merge that down onto the character itself, and then merge both of those down onto the shading. Now if I make it invisible, you will see the entire character disappears, not just one layer. So to add a little bit more detail into GFX, I'm just going to go ahead and add on some gradient. To add gradient, what you're going to do is go to the gradient tool right here in the toolbox, and then go to your colors and click the second color you have right here. You definitely want to make sure that it is at 0. If it is not at 0, then the gradient will not be transparent and it'll take over the whole screen. Now that the opacity is at 0 for the second color, the first color will be the color that shows. Since I want it to be a black gradient, that is perfect, and I'm just going to hold from the bottom and just drag it up a little bit. Since that is kind of dark, I am going to go ahead and go to the layer with the gradient and just lower the opacity a bit. Before I call this GFX finished, I'm going to go ahead and just quickly add in a black border. There we go, and for the black border, I'm going to do the same thing I did for the character and just give it some shading. And again, to do that, I'm going to duplicate, and since this is already black, I don't have to change any colors. All I have to do is just go to Effects, Blurs, and Gaussian Blur. And there we go. And now the GFX is done. All you have to do from this point is just merge the layers down, but if you do have a layer that's opacity is not at 100, then you'll notice as you merge stuff down, it'll start to become invisible with it, and it's really annoying. But to solve that, this is what you have to do. I'll show you what I mean by making a duplication of this layer, and then making the opacity of the lower layer at 0, which would make it completely invisible. When you try to merge a layer onto an invisible layer, you will notice that they both just disappear. They are still actually there, but the entire layer is now at opacity 0, which means you can't see it. So to solve that, what you have to do is simply go to the lower layer and then just merge that onto a layer with opacity 100. Since my frame is opacity 100, if I went and lowered that layer onto that one, then it should be fine. Along with this one as well. If that is something that you are struggling with, no problem, just try to stay away from anything that you have to mess the opacity with. If your opacity is 100 for all layers, for everything you use, then you should have no problem at all. Now, this is also very important. When it comes to save it, you have to make sure you save it as a .png file or a .jpeg. Do not save it as a .pdn. If you save any Paint.net file as a .pdn, then you will not be able to upload it to Roblox or perhaps some other sites as well, because .pdn stands for a Paint.net file, which can only be opened with Paint.net or perhaps maybe some other programs that are compatible, but Roblox is not compatible, so you cannot upload any .pdn files to Roblox. To prevent this, when you save, go to File, Save As, and then simply when it's right here, it'll say .png, .pdn, .bmp, whatever. Just click .png and then click Save. I hope this video helped you guys out. I know a lot of you guys really wanted a video like this. This is my first time actually making something like this without using Blender, and it came out really good. I'm actually quite surprised on how it came out. So I hope this helped a lot of you guys, and if it did, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye bye!